Christians at Antioch. Like I mentioned last time, when the Church of Jerusalem finally admitted the fact that God was now working with Gentiles and that they could become followers of Jesus, yes, they accepted it, but they knew this opened up a can of worms. A lot of decisions had to be made on both sides. I mean, the Jewish Christians assumed that these Gentiles now had to become proselyte Jews, which means they had to be circumcised. A man on the Gentile side said, well, I want to accept Christ and I'm willing to be baptized, but I'm not sure about this major operation here. What about keeping the law? That was not a Gentile thing to do. They hadn't been raised with it. There was a lot of strange things there, which included a diet. Does that mean I can't eat good old home cooking like Mama used to make anymore? There's a lot of diet issues. Even a simple thing like a beard. I mean, the Romans, the men didn't have beards. Matter of fact, in the military, they weren't allowed to have beards. Where the Jewish men not only had beards, but they didn't trim their beards. They had big beards. And is that a Gentile saying, do I have to grow a beard right now? What about inviting people into your home? What about leadership roles? If they're going to come into the church, do we let them teach? Do they become a deacon? What about all these things? And yeah, you let them into your church, these Gentiles, and after a while, a Gentile boy is going to meet one of our Jewish girls, and what about marriage? So many issues, and the church at Antioch will wrestle with most of these things, and Paul himself will be the one that will champion the Gentile cause here. This takes up most of the rest of the New Testament dealing with these issues. Well, they sent Barnabas up there. It's interesting. Barnabas was a Jewish Levite from Cyprus, which is probably the reason why when he went on his first missionary journey, he went to Cyprus. And even after he and Paul went different ways, Barnabas took John Mark and went to Cyprus again. This is the same Barnabas who gave up his wealth in the early church. He was actually a part of the family of John Mark, was probably friends with Lazarus. In fact, I personally hold it was probably Barnabas that convinced Lazarus to go to Cyprus when he had to leave town because of the death threat that was on his life. He was also a mediator, someone who could be called up to the side, someone who was there to help, a great person to go up there. Well, the story talks about the famine. This is the famine of 46. Actually, the famine lasted for about 10 years and affected all of Rome. But it's interesting to me the fact that this famine was equally severe for the Antioch area as it was in the Jerusalem area. But there were some major differences. Antioch was the third largest city in the Roman Empire. There was Rome, Alexandria, and then Antioch. But on top of that, it was at the center of some major trade routes. This was a very prosperous city. And the Christians that were in Antioch were much more prosperous and were able to send aid. But it also brings up the question, what about the situation in Jerusalem? In the early church, because of all the people that had come into Pentecost from other countries without work, they had things in common. This met the need of the hour. But more than likely, they kept doing this, where everyone would work, but they would put it into a common pot. And this probably made the famine even worse because the human nature of people taking advantage of the fact that if you work hard, you had to give it all up. And if you didn't work hard, well, you got supported anyway. So this helped accent the problem even more. Matter of fact, Paul deals with that later on when Christians in the Gentile world were trying the same thing. He said, no, no, no. If you don't work, you don't eat. Let everyone take care of themselves. Well, come back next time when we give you more insights on the story.